All right, let's get it started then. Apologies everyone for the delay. Welcome everyone to the 2020 APEC Groundbreakers Virtual Tour by Apaco UC. This year our event will be the biggest one ever done with 174 sessions, including normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 123 different speakers over 11 days. Also, it will cover sessions on 4 different languages. And please remember to register to as many sessions you can. And all sessions will be available to replay as many times you want for 2 weeks after the initial session date and time. You can also interact with the speaker at any time during that 2 weeks by posting questions or comments directly in the playback session page. Okay. I would like to say thanks to our Oracle user groups and Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to our sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers and CloudDB. Now for today's sessions, Cypress and APEX Automated Testing by Lino Schildenfeld. I always have issues with your last name, Lino. And please feel free to write questions at any time during this session at the Q&A tab of the Zoom webinar, and the speaker will be answering them at the end of the session. If any issues during the presentation, please feel free to contact me as the moderator at any time by using the chat tab of the Zoom webinar. Remember, the Q&A is for questions to be answered at the end, and the chat tab is to make any questions to me as moderator or any issues we're having. Now, without any more delays, I would like to leave you with this amazing session by Lino about Oracle APEX and Cypress. All right, Lino, I will stop sharing and you can start taking control.
Perfect, thank you, Francisco. 1 sec, just let me pick my share. You should be able to see it now, I'm hoping.
Yes, all good. I can hear you well and I can see your presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks, Francisco, for the intro. Hi, guys. I should say good morning or good day or good evening, depending where you're situated. As Francisco said, we're going global, so happy to have you all here. Today we're going to be talking Cypress and APEX automated testing. But before I jump into it, just a brief. I always include the latest news from APEX world. Not sure if you have seen it or not. It's I would call it now an older news, but it's from like August now. Forex team has announced 3 open source plugins, which are hiding behind fos.world. If you want to check them out, definitely. There's also broadcasts on the APEX World for Dummies. If you Google that and check out We Are the Plugins. There's an awesome talk by Matt explaining how it all goes. If a little bit more recent, last weekend on Saturday, APEX team announced that APEX's 20.2 release is going pre-production, which means it won't be long before we have a publicly available APEX new version for download, right? If that's not good enough, or if you want to go more and find out more about APEX 20.2, there's going to be a APEX office hours session on October 22nd, which is I think Thursday, where Joel and Mark are going to try to give us insights on what's about with this new release. Before jumping into session, just a little bit about me. I'll try to do my best to sort of give my to give back to the community. I always try to present at conferences, and I've been APEX or first Forms developer in 2006, and then joined in 2007. And since 2007, pretty much I've been on APEX only, or PL/SQL and APEX, I would call it. Other than that, let's go into details about why we're here today. Automated testing, and we all heard of it, and there's so many of them like Selenium, ATAF or ATAF automated, APEX automated test, and util PL/SQL called concept JMeter. Might be some of them that you heard of, maybe some of them that you use. Today I'm going to be concentrating only on Cypress. And the point here that I want to take on the first slide is I mean, I as a developer, and I've worked for many companies across the globe, and I've rarely seen these done, and that's unfortunate, I would call it. My take on it is, I agree with the saying that developers should be the ones who start the testing cycle, not only that we develop and just throw it over to test people and just give them, like, I've done my part, now it's up to you to test, but we should also be encouraged, and sort of the culture should be created that devs also create their web tests, right, or unit tests. And as we move along, I mean, as you try these frameworks and libraries like Selenium and others, you notice that the biggest challenge we face with web browsing or automated testing is synchronization. Okay, and that's why Cypress is here today, and that's why I think it's sort of worth looking into it, and that's how I got hooked on it, and I wanted to do a session just to show you how hard it is to get it going and get your Apex apps tested with it, right? Uh, Bottom line to remember, I still think the web testing should be one of the critical parts, or is critical parts of modern software lifecycle, and I think that's why we all should be using it. It shouldn't be just something you see and then forget about it. Why we talk about Cypress, as I said, I really believe it's easy to get going and to learn how to use. So if you use Apex, if you have experience developing a little bit with JavaScript, this should be an easy ride for you. It's claiming to have automatical weights, which is 99.9% true. Just there's one exception, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. There's ability for you to record your test, like you get a video as output. It takes automatic snapshots with version 4 and onwards. I think I'm going to be demoing things on version 5 today, which I just updated a few days ago, 5.4, something along these lines. It supports now not only Chrome as it used to be, but also Firefox and Edge as modern browsers. It has a different architecture from Selenium. That's something to remember. It uses Mocha and Chai syntax and assertions. And once you get familiar with it, it's fairly easy to build your tests, right? Comes with a good documentation, and I wouldn't lose any time on slides anymore. Let's go and let's see how it works. Just a note here, if you guys happen to be willing to join me on the ride, the next few steps are something that we can do together, okay? And I'm hoping you're going to be joining me, because we'll try to install. So let me first, so I'm assuming you, before we can do this, I'm assuming you have Node installed, okay? And I'm using Git bash here just to help me out with commands and stuff so that I don't have issues. The way how we're going to go is on my desktop, I'll create a directory. I'll call it APEX, APEX OUC. I'm going to call it demo or whatever one, and we're going to go APEX OU underscore one. Sorry about that. That's right. Another thing. APEX. Like that. There you go. So finally, we're in the directory. So position yourself into it. You say npa init -y. Run the command. It's going to go in and it's going to hook the dependencies in it. And then we're going to go npm install Cypress -d. Perfect. and it's going to take like a minute or so to get Cypress and thing configured for you. Why I prefer installing it this way instead of manually is because it does all these dependencies for you, which is probably the most easiest and ideal way for you to run things. Once this finishes, what we'll be able to do is write our first test, right? Perfect. Shouldn't be too long. There you go. Okay, and if I do npx Cypress open, I should be able to see. So if I take you back to, so I'm positioning myself in just to show you the file structure that it's going to create. So I'm in desktop, my directory that I created, and I'm just letting Cypress do its thing. So it's going to go and create 3 more directories beside of this folder. And once it's finished, we're going to be ready for writing first tests, right? And while I wait for that, what you can do is open your text editor, the favorite. I use Visual Studio here, just to help you organize your code and see a little bit better. It should be finishing by now. Okay, as a result of it, what you're going to get is Cypress is going to open a test runner. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. You just say, okay, I got it. As you can see, it created some examples in it, and I'll just close it for now because the point is you're going to see that it has created a folder here, Cypress. It has integration, and it included example folder here. For the sake of the demoing, I would recommend you at the beginning just, even though they were checking out if you want to learn stuff, but for the sake of my demos and easy of you following me, I'll just delete that folder. Okay. And if you open now the latest project that you created, in my case it was APEX, or you see Cypress, and then you just position yourself here. If you're in a text editor like mine, you can just go create another folder on the integration, which I've done app 101, and we're going to be looking at first example, which is hello world. Okay. And if I remove all of this here and simply writing test is describe, you open brackets, you say, give it a name, demo 1. Okay. And there's a particular syntax that it's going to be following. And so just bear in mind, all good. You go like that. You say, oops, sorry. I just want to be writing these ones just so you guys get a feeling of what it takes to actually get it going, right? And it's so it's our first test, and we say test 1. We're going to be doing another one of these, and we can say let's do just a dummy one. Expect 1 to equal 1, and this should conclude your first test. So if you save this, perfect. We're going to be jumping a little bit between command line and TestRunner, as you've seen. So I'm going to be running that again just for the sake of it. And you're going to be seeing, because most of the demos are going to be running, we're going to be use that until we come to the end. We're going to use that TestRunner. Why are we going to use TestRunner? Because it makes things easy, right? You don't have to. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm in the wrong folder. Just 1 sec. So I'm going to go one back because I prepared this for you before. And if I go APEX, okay, underscore. That's because I was in the wrong one. Okay, so we go npm npx Cypress open. So pretty much you just created structure install Cypress, you stay in there and just do npx Cypress open after you created this test. Okay, just because I have a few other files prepared, you'll see now that I have a list of my demos that we're going to go through. So if I just single or double click on my hello world, it's going to open another window and it's going to try to run that test for me. And that's all it took for us to create our first test. Perfect. If we look at the log, so it's going to be writing out what it's doing, and pretty much you can see here that the test, once it becomes green or red, it's going to give you errors if something went wrong. If you're all good, you should be seeing the same result as me. And that's pretty much all there is to it, running your first test. Perfect. So getting used to this syntax is a little bit weird at the beginning, but once you get into it, it's pretty much familiar, and you'll see it from JavaScript before. Like if you code it in JavaScript, it's pretty much similar, except for these ones that you like creating functions and stuff like that, but all good there. Going back to my presentation for a quick sec. Okay, so we've seen that we created the directory, we positioned, we run npm init, we installed Cypress -d. You can also do, instead of -d, you could do -- save dev, which is pretty much the same thing. It's going to install with the dependencies. We open a text editor, open Cypress open, which triggered to create these substructure directories, which we needed. Another useful one, if you want to test, if you want to be testing, you can, I just need to close my Cypress open for a sec, so I can do also npx Cypress npx Cypress version, just to, it's gonna show you which version of Cypress you have installed and running. Previously I had the version 4, but now I have version 5, which, I mean, it's irrelevant for the presentation, just to show you a few things you can do. In the same way, oh, this is an important one. So if I go back to my visual, to my code, this is my folder in there, my integration and my test that we're going to run through. There's a very important one, which is package.json. So if you double click on package.json, before you can do any of it, it needs to look similar to this. So it needs to add this dev dependency to it, which Cypress version written in it. If you don't get this when you create a folder and run these install and init commands, you might try again until you get that sorted, right? Because it needs to look exactly as you've seen it here. Perfect. Once you've done that, we've created a hello world example or demo that we've seen. So sometimes you'll see describe command. So most of the times you'll see describe at the top, and then you'll see context sometimes as well. Pretty much they stand almost for the same thing. It's trying to give a structure to your tests. Okay, so it's like creating a hierarchy in it, where the actual tests are starting with the it command. Okay, and then you give it a name. So I have, in this example, I have 2, which is test 1 and test 2, just as an example. Okay, there you go. So we've seen a TestRunner. Okay, so it's pretty much like a user interface. Instead of you running command lines all the time, you can open TestRunner and sort of take control over that. What's important here is to remember, so let me just run it again, Cypress open, just so I can show you that. There's ability for you to filter. You can see steps that it did. So just bear with me for a second till it starts again. Okay. So I can filter my test. If I want to be running 1, I can do hello world. So it's going to filter our test, and then I can run the whole suite. Otherwise, I can pick here what version or what what browser version I want to run in. Is it Firefox, Chrome, or Electron, or Edge? Previously, it used to just be Chrome and Electron. Right now, it's extended to other browsers as well. It still doesn't support all of them, so I'm hoping they're going to do their bits. There's thing called settings, where you can see how your project is configured, but I wouldn't bother you with these ones at the moment. We're going to be using runs later on, because it gives you ability to connect to your dashboard. We'll learn what that's going to be. And so basically running this is either you run all, or you pick, or you double click the one you want to run. Oops, sorry. So there you go. And then it runs the test and tells you what we did. Okay, so we're going to be writing a few more tests. I'm going to be jumping to my editor just to run you through a few of the tests that I prepared in the same way. So we do describe, we give it a name. So what we're going to be trying to do here is logging into Apex, or we're going to be trying to open an Apex page, okay, landing page, login page. So we created a test, open login page, same way. Now we run a command. So CY follow with dot is like a internal Cypress command that you can run, and then there's all heaps of things that you can do, but one of them is visit, which is just opening a URL. Okay, so this is the URL of my autonomous Apex instance that I'm running, like forever free thing, which is sitting in Sydney at the moment. What I'm doing then is trying to say whether or not the URL that's going to be opened contains 101 slash login desktop. If it does, I'm going to be checking. So I'm going to get the element. So it uses a jQuery syntax. So pretty much using a class here. So I'm going to get an element, a T login title, and then that element should contain a sample database application. So if I take you guys back for a ride on that one, similar way, we're going to be running test. Okay, so you'll see that it's going to go out and perfect. It's open my app. So it's open my application. Perfect. So we're going to go step forward again. I'm just going to be closing these ones because I will be opening them anyway. To take that one step forward, there's some system variables that we can use, and one of them is called base URL. And so pretty much this example is same as the previous one. So just ignore my assertions here. So if I delete that, these two are the same. Pretty much all we're doing is we created a test, give it a name, and then we're visiting that page. Okay. Just bear in mind that we're using a Apex friendly URLs, not the standard ones with F*P stuff in it. And what I've done here, I provided the whole URL here, so it contains the whole part. But the difference here is I'm not providing the whole URL. I'm using a environment variable or like global variable called base URL, and it's not written like that. It should be like that. Which pretty much is going to do the same thing. So it's going to prepend that base URL on top of my here. And where did I define that? So if you browse through your structure and look into your folder on the Cypress, you're going to see something that's called Cypress JSON. Okay, and in this Cypress JSON, you just create a JSON string where so I created the base URL and I gave it the whole link up to Lino, which is my workspace name, and then uh, it's smart enough, or it knows how to pre or postpend or append this at the end of that base URL. Okay, so if I run this, you would get the same result as before, just a concept of introducing that global variables or that are available for you within Cypress, right? As you've seen before, just let me open my Cypress again. I created additional ones. So I created an environment variable. So there's many ways how you can provide username and password and of course we want to hide the passwords from the users. For usernames are more or less fine. We don't worry about these, but passwords are the one we want to hide. There's many ways how you can do this. I've done the simplest for the demo sake, which is I created an environment array where I'm storing username and demo, right? So I'm going to be using these two for accessing my so for logging in into the application. Once we get over that concept, so we're going to go a step more. So again, pretty much it's just a copy and paste of the previous one. So we're opening an app, and my app is called 101. So this is all wrong like that. So open 101, a login page, visit that desktop again, which is just a login page. And then we're going to be trying to, okay, so how do we, so I open my login page. If I take you back to my browser, one sec, so I can show you how it looks. So if I log in from here, Okay, so if I refresh this, hopefully it's still up and running. Perfect. If I log out. Okay, so we wanna make Cypress or type in something into these two fields and then eventually click on sign in. How we would do that? So I'm gonna hop here. We're gonna be using that one, and let me open that one with the base URL, just for the sake of demoing that it should still work. So it prepended that whole URL and then it opened a page. Okay, and TestRunner comes with another ability which is perfect for you as a someone who is new to Cypress, and for me as well, sometimes helps. You have something that's called selective playground. So you click on that one and then you point to any field or anything on that page. And if I point to my username field, it creates something for me which I can copy. Okay, and then I can go back to my editor, and then if I paste this here, you'll see that it's going to do something for me. So if I remove that line and if I say paste, it copied the selector for me. So I can do type and then type whatever I want in there. If I say demo, it's going to type in demo for me. And that's pretty much all I've done before. So I'll just take it back for the, so you can see that it's pretty much the same thing. So I copy the selected username and I'm typing, my user will be demo, okay? And then another thing that I'm going to be using, which is I already explained, I'm using, so I didn't want to type in here my password, of course, but it for the demo purpose, it's not that I have to hide it. So I created a variable here, and then I'm accessing a Cypress environment that information that I created, which is a demo user. So I'm passing that into my password, and then I'm getting that password and trying to type that variable password in it. This bit comes in because I want to hide that being written in a log, nothing else. So you can check that out in on the Cypress documentation. Other than that, I'm trying to click that login page button. Okay, and if we run that test, so let's do login with password for the sake of it. So it's going to open the page again. There won't be any issues with synchronization, as you see. It's just, and there we are. So we logged in into our Apex app, and it took us like 10 minutes or so. Perfect. So we had the ability. So the important thing to know here is there's at least 5 ways that I know of how to pass in passwords into your apps, and just check them out. Available on documentation. I won't go through all of them. Okay. And then, of course, the next step would be we went through. So we typed in username. We provided a password. We clicked the login page, and then we can do the first assertion. So assertions are important because they are verifying that your tests have passed or not. So I clicked on a button, but until I verify that I see something along on a page that opened, like for example, it contains a special URL, as you can see here, and then I'm checking that that URL contains sample database application, as we see here, 101 / sample database applications. And then after that, I want to be checking, for example, that my title that opened contains sample database application, which is nothing but this at the top. And pretty much this is how you structure your tests. Okay, so you do a step, you click something, you verify what happened on the screen, right? And I think that's where Cypress does an awesome job, because pretty much these things are very easy to get going and then sort of understand how you're going to do it based on a page. On top of it, it provides this selector, so it pretty much you don't have to waste any time. Just for the sake of demoing, you can just use that for all of your elements on a page. Okay. And it does a good job. And just an example that to go through while we in it. So pretty much the same copy of the previous one. So we're opening a login page, checking that it's really a login page that I want. I'm providing a username here. Again, I created a password variable, which I know is wrong, and then I want to log in with that password, and then I want to make sure that my app doesn't log in. Okay, so I'm checking that my login actually failed. If I close this one and run the bad password. Perfect. So it's going to type in demo, the bad password, and then it's going to go invalid credentials because it's actually failed. Okay, but the test still passed because I was checking for the fail pretty much. And there is not much to it. I'm going to go two more complex examples, but just briefly, let me go back to my slides. So we've seen a test runner, how we can filter tests, how we can run tests, what it gives us ability. I mentioned, so for the beginners or someone who is new to it, the concept of how do you hide the password, the definition of base URL so that you can reuse that. You don't want to be defining that as variables because you can use the global Cypress variables in there and define it easily from that Cypress JSON file. As I mentioned, there's like 5 ways that I know, and they're all available on Cypress documentation. You can see the links below. Okay, now we're gonna go into a little more details on it. As you've seen, these tests can start growing easily on you. If you have big apps and you want to run some complicated tests, the code will grow. And now the next concept I'm trying to sort of put or get across is how would you reshare code? So let's go back to my code. And if I compare my login page, so simply where I managed to log in, which is I opened a login desktop, I was typing some things into my logins and passwords. These two tests, so when I succeed, this is a succeed example, and the one where I fail, pretty much they do the same thing. So I'm opening a login page, I'm typing in demo at least, and then the only difference is I'm typing a different password. So how could I join these two into one code? Okay, so we're going to look at that example. So Cypress comes with ability to touch on, so it has ability to reshare the code, and these are the most famous loops, which is before each that I have example of, but there's like before, there's after each, and there's after. So what we're going to do is we've defined a before each that's going to be running before every test that I run. So basically what I do here is I created it's a function that does before each test it's going to visit the login page. It's going to try to log in. It's going to type in my username, which is just a demo. And then, as I said, the password is different. So so for this test, which is OK test, so the one where I'm going to pass logins, I created a variable password, same way, which is good one. So it's going to go in. I'm going to check that that I'm clicking a button that I want. It should contain 101, and I'm checking that I got a page which says sample database application in its title somewhere. On the other hand, if I want to just check, so I want to try to log in, which is open a page, do the same thing as I've done before, but I want to type in the different password. So pretty much I reused the code from before, so I'm reducing the amount of code I have to maintain. I get a bad password. I try to type it in here, click the button and check that I fail. So you see how I utilize this sharing thing. And now something important that I want to explain here is if you notice how I clicked my button, so I'm going to be taking you back. Sometimes when you run these tests, you're going to have to change how your Apex app renders things, just because you want to make these selectors as easy as possible for you. And what I've done, I tweaked this app a little bit. So if I go into details, you'll see in a second. If I right click and say inspect element under my buttons, you've seen that I added something which Hayden from Insum had a inspirational talk of this talk, right? Where so one of the things we want to be using, instead of using buttons ID all the time, we can use a class or maybe a data element on our HTMLs, right? So I created here data.cy, which stands for Cypress, so you can do data-Cypress. and then automatically I'm assigning sign underscore in button. Okay, and how I achieve the same, which is pretty much Hayden's trick to do this, but working with Selenium and other tools, sometimes you just have to do this. So what we are doing here is we're trying to get all the buttons and then add an attribute, which is a data attribute, data dash Cypress or CY, and then we're adding and just trying to rename or add a description, which is like a data CY, and saying the name of that button combined with underscore button to it. So if you check again, I'll share the code. It doesn't if you didn't follow that, you can check Hayden's, or you can just reach out to me. I'm happy to share all the code you see here. So pretty much the point is, to all of my buttons within the app, I want to create the same selector. So I want to create the same way how I'm going to be approaching them and clicking them, for example. So that's why I have a data attribute here, data CY, which is sign underscore in. So that's my name of the button, and just concatenate it with the button there. And then once I have that, it makes my selectors a bit easier of all buttons, because they're going to be pretty much following the same stuff. So I can always use sign in button now in my apps, right? And if I call my button something different, if I call it open page or something login, then I would use that login button here. Perfect. And then a little bit more complex and let's say full blown out. Let me just take that back, and I'll run that as a shake code just to show that it all runs still fine. So it's going to do the before each. So it's going to try to open the page. So first test, yep, opening page, login. This thing was fine. Running the second thing, which is a bad one, so it's going to get an error. So if you look at my tests, this is my check that I'm okay, and then I'm checking that login failed. As you can see, the old steps failed. Oh, the old steps were fine, so they're green. But what I wanted to say is, when you move your cursor over these commands, you can see snapshot that it took as it was running each and every one of these commands. Okay, if I were to draw a line or comparison to Selenium at this point, just for the sake of being able to do that, one sec, jumped too quickly on it. So if I run my Selenium here,
And
yes, I
Lino,
wanna, yep.
apologies. Just to let you know, we have 5 more minutes.
Oh, all good. No way. So I'll skip this one then. Perfect. Thanks, Francisco. Let me just take you then to the final piece of code that I want to share with you guys today. There's another way how we can share code, or even more structure your code better. So we can create functions that will be, instead of writing the whole thing. So I wrote the whole steps here. So every step that I do for login, but I can group that as a function. So I can create a function for it. So before, instead of running all that code, I'm calling a Cypress function that I created. So how do we create functions? Under support, you have something that's called command.js. And if you double click that, normally what you will see, it will be empty. So you'll see just this bit, okay? What we added here is a login function. So pretty much details of it you can sort of go into, but point is, open a login page, try to log me in. So it's trying to log me in, use a good password, and then check that we are on a sample database application. So once I have that, if I go back to my code, so pretty much log me in, that's what I'm saying here, and then I have one test that's going to be visiting a page too. So I want to fill in a form, and then you'll see what it does. It's going to open a form, click on the buttons, try to create a record, and then check that we created a record, which is fine. So going back on my last test, and that's where we're going to sum it all up. All good. It runs the test, and you'll see here. So what we're doing is logging in again, same old standard thing. And now we're going to be opening another page and trying to create a record. So I pressed an element on trying to enter my form. I'm trying to type in everything I want, and I'm validating that I created that new record, which I'm assuming is going to be the bottom one. jumping out and trying to finish my slides quickly. All good, you see. The assertions and selectors are the key point of your web automation. So pretty much you have to nail it. Sometimes it's going to require you to change your apps, as you've seen. So I added that little trick for buttons, but you can add it for menus, for lists, for other lists, other elements on your page. Assertions, it uses a chai library, but most things, these are jQuery selectors that you used to running APEX. Okay, so I want to show this as well, which is we have 2 more minutes, which is fine. If I go and close that, so just close your TestRunner, and I'm gonna open this, so it should be run here. I can run all of these tests manually, okay? And just let me copy one of these commands. So if I, 1 sec. Okay. 1 sec, manual run. So if I do copy of this one, so it comes with a support to run this as a command line. That's the whole point. That's how we can integrate it in other tools as well, and provide the perfect. So it says, yep, all good. I know what's wrong, because previous versions of Cypress needed video recording parameter. Now it needs just this one. As you can see, you'll see how it's going to create. It's going to run and display result for me on a screen here, so I can run it manually. That's important to remember. You see, starting running, it's running just a hello world, so there's nothing to do pretty much, and it's just telling me that it run fine. Other than that, jumping here is you have heaps of these parameters that you can send in. These are going to run headless, what browser you're going to run as, and stuff like that. And then the other important bit is this one, which I just want to touch briefly on because we're running late a little bit. So closing my apps. So if you open dashboard Cypress IO, it's going to let you log in and create your credentials for dashboard. And dashboard is awesome because you have a like a web interface where you can create and see your tests. Okay, and let me briefly open that one. If I do Cypress open again, you'll see how we hook the two together, and that's pretty much where I'm going to stop for today, because we wanna. So that's my same test that you've seen here before. If you go under runs, it has ability to. It's going to tell you you can connect to dashboard. Okay, so unless you created your dashboard credentials already, you can't go even here. So I can say that's my fine. I'm fine. I can say private, and I can say set up a project. So what it's going to do with this is it's going to hook that project that I created, which is called APEX OUC, not D, but never mind, Cypress demo, and it's telling me, so it created a project, added a Cypress JSON project details, and then if I use this, I can run that as a command here. So if I just 1 sec, I have to close this. So I copy that over. So pretty much in my Cypress, it hooked the Cypress with the project that I had on my computer, right? And now if I run this, oh yeah, sorry, npx, and then that one, oh good. And then what I'm telling it now, okay, I want to run all of my tests, so I didn't filter out to a single test as I did before. So I'm running all of them, and it's going to spin up every one of them, as you see here, and then it's going to be automatically hooked into Cypress dashboard. And the beauty of it is, if you, because I'm using a free version, I'm not paying. So I'll just show you so it's hooked up. You can see that it's running. I had 3 projects before, or 2 projects before, and this is the 3rd one, and it hooked up, and now it knows that it's running something. So you're going to be seeing your results here as they happen. And if you have a paid version, so free version is storing this up to 30 days, my recordings and everything that it does from tests. But if you have a paid version and you sort of subscribe yourself to a paid version, you can store all of your tests here, and you can always come back, download your videos, you see snapshots or stuff like that. So very useful thing, this dashboard. While it runs, I'll just try to finish my slides. There you go. So it's going to record my runs. if you run that manual command that I've showed you, Cypress run, without providing that video parameter that I said, do not record a video, it automatically records video to your local machine as well, so you can get videos on your local drive as well. You'll see a test result that it comes up with, and then briefly we're going to touch how it compares to Selenium. Let me just see where it passed. So you see how, so it's going through a test. If I go back to my here, so it's going to see here run status and durations and stuff. So you'll see how it's going to show you everything you want to know about the run that you want. And once it's finished, you will see it here. Let me go step forward just before we finish. How does it compare to Selenium? It slightly has a different architecture. It shouldn't have issues with synchronization because it lives and runs in browser, okay? But just bear in mind, model dialogues are a special beast, so I didn't have time to go through it, but Hayden did, so check out Hayden's video for that example, where how do you access things that are in model dialogues, okay? Other than that, it supports only JavaScript. It doesn't support like languages as Selenium does. If you need to run cross-browser testing, it has limited support of browsers, which is just Chrome, Firefox, and Edge at the moment. It should be faster than Selenium. One is a library, so Selenium is a library, so you need lots more to build your complete automation testing. It won't be just Selenium as such, and Selenese as language. You're going to be hooking up into other frameworks as well to make it all work, where Cypress gives you everything you want within like itself, which is framework, right? And I still think you're going to be seeing both. I don't think Selenium will be out soon, and I don't think Cypress does the whole thing. So they kind of work together really well, or depending on your need. This is an awesome site that I've seen. So there's a URL just to summarize how they compare to each other, where Cypress is going and where Selenium, what Selenium is doing, and pretty much that sums it all for me. And one sec, just to see if that runs. So you see my runs have completed. It's all and out. And just to show you here, latest runs. You can see here now results of my tests, and you have so I can check out here. Perfect. View outputs. I can do outputs here. This is the same as you see there. So it's saved on my dashboard. I get all sorts of details. I can see the video as well here. So I have a video as an artifact, which I can run and stuff like that. I wouldn't go into more. I think that's where I can stop, and just going back to my, going back to my presentation for a sec to sum it up. Bottom line is, I would like you to remember that you want to make this part of your development lifecycle. You don't want to leave this once you finish the project. As soon as you develop a feature, create automatic text for it. Cypress or Selenium, it doesn't matter. I think you can't go wrong. Cypress integrates well with integration tools, protect your passwords, and pretty much reuse the code as much as you can. I'm not sure if we have any questions, Francisco, but I'm happy to take these now. Let me see if I can.
Yep, I just opening the Q&A and I cannot find any questions.
Perfect.
If we have any questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A area, but I cannot see any questions.
That's fine, and you feel free to reach out like offline to me if you need any questions, if you need the code or anything along these lines. I'm happy to share these.
Sounds great. And also in the playback page of the session, everyone can also post questions and comments, and you will be notified every time anyone posts anything on your page.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Lino?
Yes.
Can you, because you got by accidentally as the main host, can you end everything?
I'll go
end the meeting and to everyone and stop recording.
Perfect.